Hello, dear colleagues and guests. My name is Galina Bleikh. I am an artist and curator. I'm happy to be a host of Laser Talks Jerusalem. First of all, I want to thank Laser for this opportunity and Silent for collaborating with us on this talk. Today, we will discuss a topic that concerns all the humanity, not just artists. The topic is AI. It is rapidly entered our lives, surprising even the boldest predictions. We have titled our meeting Artist and AI, Competition, Replacement, Assistance, Co-authorship, Synergy, all with a question mark. We will try to explore these questions. And now a few words about the interaction between artist and AI. For many centuries, the artist was the sole creator of images. Artists had the exclusive role of creating visual representation of their time. With the arrival of photography, cinema, and computers and the internet, the situation changed dramatically. Each of us became an image creator and could share these images instantly with an unlimited audience. The situation made artists redefine their role in society and the boundaries of art. And just when artists were starting to adapt, they faced a new challenge. The new unlimited and highly efficient image creator is now AI. Today, we are on the brink of a revolution driven by the development of artificial neural networks. It is fascinating to engage with the new reality and try to combine our intelligence, biological and digital. I believe this approach opens up exciting possibilities for collaborative creativity. My own experience working with AI confirms this. I experienced the miracle of synergistic creative interaction with an unknown and unpredictable, yet sensitive and powerful partner. However, not everyone shares this view. Discussions on this topic reveal various fears, rejection, aggression, and desire to ban AI development. For example, the well-known philosopher Nick Bostrom believes that AI reaching human-level intelligence would destroy humanity. There is much debate about artificial neural networks, subjectivity, agency, and creative potential. Today, we will present two projects. Each of them addresses the interaction with AI in its way. We will also hear from an expert on the topic. And now I hand over to our moderator, Daria Kesler, who will introduce our speakers for today. Daria, please, the floor is yours.
Hello, I'm really happy to be here today, and I'm really happy to moderate our discussion. I would like to say that today we're going to have four speakers, Kirill, Eugeny, Nikitin, Bleikh, and Dr. Lev Manovich. I'm happy to start the introduction of our speakers with Kirill Azernyi. Kirill is a writer, poet, translator, and a publisher. He has been writing fiction since 2005. His stories and short stories have been published in different magazines: Novemir, Raw, Flaggy, Gone Long, Flashback Review, and the Minute Review. Kirill Azernyi has published two books of prose, The Present in 2011 and A Doomsday Man in 2015. He is the publisher of the Summer's Dead Magazine's Days 2015-2020, dedicated to contemporary experimental prose, poetry, and essays. He has participated in the International Writing Program at the University of Iowa in 2015 and in the St. Petersburg International Culture Forum in Russia in 2021 and the Slobodana Free Culture Forum in 2023 in Israel. And also, now I would like to introduce Eugeny Nikitin. Eugeny is a multi-faceted artist known for his work in poetry, prose, translation, criticism, in artificial intelligent artistry. His literary project has been showcased in renowned magazines like INEMEA, Bleikh, and Roar, and he has published 4 books of poetry and 2 collections of stories. It has earned spots on the long list for the debut Nas and Poetry Awards. Aside from his literary work, Nikitin participated in the 53rd Venice Art Biennale in 2009 as a part of the project Making Words, and has performed at Action Field Quarter in 2009 and the Saloniki Biennale in 2022, and he's founder of MetaJournal, an online platform of contemporary poetry. So I'm really pleased to introduce both of them and to give them floor to tell us more and present their collaborative project. Whispered comments, please.
Okay, hello everyone. We can start.
So you should understand this is in the making. It's not something final. I think you have first to explain.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, I will kind of briefly sum it up, like put it in a nutshell. Well, it's a project that consists of voice recorded poems that I voice recorded on my iPhone, being in different surroundings sound-wise. Like I would record these poems while in a queue at a supermarket or just, outdoors or at home. And the surrounding would affect how the voice recorder recognizes or misrecognizes what I read, what I say. So eventually, I did not edit anything. So these poems are presented as they were voice recorded by my iPhone to the extent at which it could recognize the speech. So it's basically raw voice recorded speech, no edits edited by me or anybody else. Okay. So we're gonna keep.
I want to use your language skills also to help me to explain what I do.
Oh, I was I thought that you would better.
I can do it, but
yeah, because you know better your stuff. Okay, but well, okay. So what
okay, what I basically do, I transform the results of Kirill's collaboration with iPhone in some way into pictures by using AI. And yeah, that's it actually.
So it was a dialogue. So we basically spoke to each other, me and Eugeny, using our own means of technological mediation. Voice recorder on my side and Midjourney on his side. So this is a discussion, a conversation between two people, me and Eugeny, through this mediation. Okay, these two mediations. Okay. So yeah, all right. And last thing that I want to add is that before I start reading finally, is that our intention was to make these parts parallel. So the poems are considerably abstract. They follow the route of verbal language, and the pictures are visual. They follow the route of visual arts. So they develop in a parallel way together equally, and they are by no means illustrations or comments to each other. So this is an important thing. Okay, we are equal collaborators. I'm not a commentary author to Evgeny's visual art works, and he's not an illustrator of my poems. Okay, so yeah, I'm about to start. So the first part, human between there was, there is that show on the map where death, yes, there's our flashes on the dark background, our bats. Is it still the bird? Will it remain this? Sound will never be clear. This world is in Russian. Similarity board, samovar is a teapot. Some other is a slang word. Samovar a teapot, a silver boiler, sulfur slang word for crippled, no hands, no legs. Time will pass to here, bro delivers me backwards. He, bro, delivers me backwards. This door will never be shut. This door will never be open. Bedsitters, eaves of silence don't need much, but they steal my sleeping. A bit more, maybe peace of mind, and take it for a black, black ground. Mirror is the Russian word for peace. Mirror, 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 mirror is the Russian word for peace. Mirror, terror. Is this a crane? Ukraine, is this you? My X, my Y, my Z. Z is the last letter. Yeah. Is the last letter Russian? Yeah. Russian, yeah. Yeah means me. Yeah means I. Talk as if nothing is there. Talk as if no one is there. Talk as if you lie. Period. 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 Blood later. Blood later. Period. Letter. Speak as if no one is there. Say I am home. I am home. Check how much. Would check chuck if a woodchuck would, and Ivan Woodchuck wouldn't kill. If you meet someone you think might have AIDS, you check your integrity. You check their integrity. And sir, easier to check their integrity is in your own integrity. It's easier to check your integrity is in their integrity. Quite close to dawn floats the dun. Quite close the blind, quite close the blood. Blind flows the blood. Hold their airborne infant as you hold the 11th floor and hold the 11th floor. Maybe speak, maybe maybe house floor, not far. We have sky to file shelves, to fall back, to shell, to fall, but a name to call. Do you have a name to call? My hands, my hands, my hands, my hands at once. My hands clap once. Number two.
Number two. He's number two. Okay.
Kids at playground boat what they haven't. My says I don't have a shovel, and girl says I don't have a bike. Boy says I don't have two sisters and three brothers. Girl says I don't have two fathers, or even one, or anyone, even when someone says I don't have a mother, a mouth, I don't have a voice, or need it, don't have a need to, or need it. I don't know if Siri, if you haven't heard a siren, this city you never know. When you leave at home, leave the light behind. There is the child sleeping. God, we left right behind. Light on, tabor line, lamp on table, and gas on lamp. Jazz on fire, on fire. Blood is no cat. I do know. Come home, it will not. Oh, blah. Let her blood, let her know. I'll let her blood envelope letter notifying your home is on fire. We must have left light on.
I'm sorry, sometimes I sleep and show pictures which are not a part of this one. Okay. Part 3 is part 3. Okay. Okay.
Come in my mouth, let me speak, let me spell pills of know you, my hello spirit, my hello spit. Don't let my mouth go dark. Talk too. Grandma calls me by last name. I am here, Roman fortification, so sore when I came here before I saw 45 to last against. The foreseen is the unseen fortified to last. The wind speaks to you till it speaks to it. So fed it speaks to self as you speak to self. Seed us. You eat, feed as you swallow. Come with the U, the capital U, 9, 10, 4, 5, 2, 0, 2, 2. I am named after. Blunt, type of blood tip. Time tip of 2 tongues, 2 capital U's, U2. We are told, asked, questioned, as said. Ukraine stands for good boy. Age, standing by edge, you crossed. By boy, by, through, by, via, boy, where in thee, where are you found me? Bury me, burn, burned, has buried, buried is burned as buried. Bring me where you find me, bury where you found. Draft me, finish me.
This was 3, yes?
Yeah, it was
Now
part
it's
3.
the 4. Okay. Okay, it's working.
Bygone goes by, judge for which argument is ad hominem, each is the other. The night shrinks, hide behind eyelid. There is a small white, is a tiny night, carry this. One contains, hour contain, 0, I contains 1. The night pane is yellow. Color divides, and now parades enough separate nights to separate. Sleep both safe and unsafe. Sleep with a sharp, fragile blade. It is a fragile blade. Night carries without knowledge. The night skins. Good night peels. The night peels.
That's it. There is more parts, but I'm not already did the remaining parts of the poem.
Yeah, so it's a work in progress.
And basically, I may redo.
Yeah, so the pictures are subjects to further change.
Yes. For example, what I'm thinking now is to stay by this particular way of engaging with these texts. Maybe maybe I will stay by this style, so to say. And the other pictures you have seen, maybe they will be like drafts, and I will remake all the parts again using this one, which I like more. Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for a brilliant presentation. I think it was really impressive. And it's always a wonderful thing just to share your work in progress for artists, I think. So thank you. Thank you for being with us today and to tell me about your collaboration and the processes. And now I would like to introduce Galina Bleikh. She is a multidisciplinary artist. Her creative expertise spans a rich spectrum of artistic domains, encompassing artificial intelligence, 3D modeling, artificial reality, virtual reality, bioart, generative art, and more. And at the heart of her artistic pursuit is a fascination with a profound synergy between the emerging artificial reality and transformative interaction with human experience through art. Galina's creative endeavors extend to collaborative projects, notably in partnership with Elena Serbrikova since 2011. Together, these two artists have created the visionary concept of their unique creative approach, the hybrid neural network art. Galina graduated from the Stiglitz St. Petersburg Academy of Art in Industry, and since 1993, she lives in Jerusalem, in Israel. Galina is a co-founder of INEMEA Association for Art, Culture, and Education, and INEMEA Jerusalem Art and Science Lab. Since 2024, Galina has become a host of the Laser Talk Jerusalem. Galina takes part in many exhibitions and conferences, for example, Jerusalem Biennale as a curator and participating artist 2023-2024, art platform on South Korea 2022, the Sika Museum of Modern Art, also in South Korea, North Art Germany, Haifa Museum of Art in Israel, LA Art Show USA in 2013, Art Conference Gallery, Solo Exhibition in 2012, and Art Asia Miami in 2011. And now I'm happy to give floor to Galina. Please tell us about your project.
Okay, thank you, Daria. Okay, and I have to share the screen again, just a moment. I want to start my presentation with a photo I took of Anish Kapoor's sculpture in Chicago. From a certain angle, the city looks like it's wrapped around the spherical surface. The distortion makes it look illusory and self-contained, as if turning the city into its own planet. This idea directly relates to my project. Today, our relationship with space, distance, geography, boundaries, and physical presence is changing. For example, with Google Maps, we can travel through familiar and unfamiliar city streets interactively without leaving our chair. Distance and administrative boundaries no longer matter. The project named the Tumbleweed Cities is a relevant metaphor for describing artificial digital cities generated by the world of illusion. These cities are isolated from their geographical, political, and social-cultural context without reference to a map and bordering nothing. This discrete perception of space and distances leads to the end of continuity. Here is the structure of the collaboration between AI and the artist. I asked Midjourney here to create landscape images of different cities and imagined by the neural network. Then I used these images for animated mapping on the 3D sphere model using 3D modeling software. The resulting videos were narrated by GPT-bot, which commented on the Midjourney images, noting that its data is limited to 2021. The track also uses the noise of planets recorded by NASA. Thus, the final result was achieved through the joint efforts of the artist and AI. However, the conceptual part of the project, the writing of prompts, and the overall idea remain with the artist. This slide shows an image generated by Midjourney from the prompt tumbleweed plant. This plant became the metaphor and gave the project its name. Tumbleweed refers to plants that break away from their roots when dry and move freely, tumbling with the wind. The next two slides show the sphere model with mapping in the 3D modeling program. Each sphere has its pivot or 0 point, the origin of the coordinate system with 3 axes. So Each sphere has its own coordinate system, making each one to start of its own world. And the following slides show how Midjourney imagines different cities. Their landscapes created by AI algorithms are strikingly similar to real familiar cities, but they are not their real images. The impression created by the neural network is like a dream, where we perfectly understand where we are, but the places do not visually correspond to its real-life prototype. Here you see Jerusalem, and this is Ulaanbaatar, Mongolia, Seoul, Drum Korea, Brussels, and New York. Here are the stills from the final video. Each of these cities is a traveling artificial planet with its own coordinate system and a pivot attached to it. Their digital homeland and space is the interface of the 3D program that created them, where they continue their unincubated existence. We internet surfers, digital nomads, and are the inhabitants of these tumbleweed cities, these tumbling bubbles floating freely in the digital air with individual coordinate axes. But one day, perhaps, we will want to go back and find that our heavy real cities rooted in the earth no longer exist. And now let's see the video of the project.
As an AI language model, I can use my imagination to envision how Jerusalem might look if created by an AI like Midjourney. Keep in mind that this is purely speculative and does not represent any real-world developments. Jerusalem, created by Midjourney AI, would likely be a city that blends the rich history and cultural heritage of the region with advanced technologies and sustainable urban planning. Midjourney AI would act as a tool to support and enhance human efforts rather than replacing them. It would assist in data analysis, city planning, and other tasks to improve overall quality of life. While an AI-created city like this might sound futuristic and promising, it's essential to consider the ethical implications and ensure that human values and needs remain at the core of any AI-driven urban development. The description of Seoul created by AI is purely fictional and speculative. As an AI language model, I can imagine and provide creative narratives based on the information I have been trained on. But I don't have access to real-time data or the ability to predict the future. The real Seoul, as of my last knowledge update in September 2021, is a vibrant and modern city known for its rich cultural heritage, advanced technology, and bustling urban life. Any developments or changes that have occurred in Seoul since then would be beyond my current knowledge. It's always best to refer to up-to-date and reliable sources for accurate information about the current state of Seoul.
As an AI language model, I can imagine a speculative future version of New York City created with the assistance of Midjourney AI. Please note that this is purely imaginative and based on trends and possibilities up to my knowledge cut off in September 2021. Actual developments in the city may differ significantly. In the future, New York City could undergo remarkable transformations, becoming a highly advanced, sustainable, and innovative metropolis. Here's a glimpse of the speculative future New York City created by Midjourney AI. The city emphasizes community engagement and participation in decision-making processes. Social initiatives tackle homelessness, affordable housing, and economic disparities, fostering an inclusive and equitable society. It's crucial to recognize that this vision is entirely speculative and subject to various factors such as technological advancements, policy decisions, economic conditions, and societal choices. As an AI language model, I can envision a speculative future version of Brussels, the capital city of Belgium, created with the assistance of Midjourney AI. Keep in mind that this is purely imaginative and based on trends and possibilities up to my knowledge cut off in September 2021. Actual developments in the city may vary. Here's a glimpse of the speculative future Brussels created by Midjourney AI. Brussels has fully embraced sustainable city planning and development. Green spaces and urban gardens are integrated throughout the city, promoting biodiversity and providing residents with accessible areas to connect with nature. Remember, this vision is purely speculative and subjective, intended to illustrate a potential future based on existing trends and innovations. The actual development of Brussels will depend on numerous factors, including the decisions and actions of its residents, policymakers, and stakeholders. As an AI language model, I can certainly imagine how Ulaanbaatar, commonly known as Ulaanbaatar, the capital city of Mongolia, might look like in the future, with the help of Midjourney AI. Please note that this is purely speculative and imaginative, based on trends and possibilities up to my knowledge cut off in September 2021. The actual developments in the city might differ. Here's an imaginative glimpse of Ulaanbaatar created by Midjourney AI. In the future, Ulaanbaatar could undergo significant transformations in various aspects, making it a more advanced, sustainable, and vibrant metropolis. It's important to note that the future is uncertain, and the actual development of Ulaanbaatar will depend on various factors such as government policies, technological advancements, economic conditions, and societal choices. This imaginative vision is simply a hopeful projection of what Ulaanbaatar could become with the aid of technology and sustainable practices.
And I'd like to add that this project can be shown on the 6-channel 360-degree screen or on a long flat or curved screen in a large room or outdoor. Here is the structure, the design of it, and the visualization, how it can be shown. And finally, I want to say that I believe the small experiment defines the artist's place as a concept creator in a world that has objectively taken away their role as the sole producer of images. A world that produces and distributes images at breakneck speed 24/7 is unable to understand itself and create meanings. Moreover, AI is retro-oriented, creating new based on processing information about the already existing. In this situation, the role of creating new meanings and defining the future directions remains with the artist. As we enter the new era, we must use the opportunities while being mindful of the challenges. These boundaries between our digital and physical lives are blurring, and how we handle this transition will shape the future of society and how we integrate technology into our daily lives. Thank you for your attention. And now, Daria, you can take the place. Yes, continue.
Galina, thank you. Thank you for your presentation and sharing your vision and ideas with us. And now I would like to introduce Dr. Lev Manovich, artist, writer, and one of the most influential theorists of digital culture worldwide. He is currently a presidential professor of computer science at the City University of New York Graduate Center and the director of the Culture Analytics Lab. After studying painting, architect, and filmmaking, Manovich began using computers to create digital art in 1984. He has played a key role in creating 4 new research fields: new media studies, software studies, cultural analytics, and artificial aesthetics. Since 1991, he has published 190 articles that have been translated into 35 different languages and reprinted over 800 times. He authored and edited 16 books, including Artificial Aesthetics, Cultural Analytics, Instagram Contemporary Image Software, Text Comment, and The Language of New Media, which has been called the most provocative and comprehensive media history since Marshall McLuhan. His projects have been exhibited in 13 solo and 122 international group exhibitions at many prestigious institutions such as the Institution of Contemporary Art in London, the Centre Pompidou, and the Shanghai Biennale. And today, he will tell us some selected ideas from his new book, Artificial Aesthetics, Generative Artificial Intelligent Art and Visual Media. So please, the floor is yours.
Thank you so much for inviting me to participate. Well, in my kind of normal life, I function both as an artist, as a writer. For example, this is catalog of my latest personal exhibition, which just got in the mail a few days ago. But they, since we have already, two artists speaking, I was asked to, be a scholar or even a scientist on this panel. So to highlight this and to avoid any confusion, I will not show any images, but I will present one of the many arguments for my ongoing book, which I've been working with my collaborator since 2021. So normally the way I work is whenever I have an idea, I start writing a post. Usually I do it on Facebook. So I have treat Facebook as my writing table. I get very excited, very motivated by the fact that at least few people will read it as soon as I would publish. And then, I sometimes copy the post to LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram. And then, as I read comments, I may come back to my post over the next few days, even weeks. I keep editing it. And then when I'm happy, I'm copying it into the external file. And once I have enough of this post, I select the best ones. And then I do like a book chapter, what I call book chapter, and I immediately put it online as well. So now me and my collaborator are finishing the last chapters of this book. We actually started our collaboration in 2019. And this is the third book I did about AI culture, AI art, and AI aesthetics. And in fact, I will show you the first one, which was very thin. I think it's been not very visible because of my screen mode. It was actually published by Strelka Institute, maybe some of you remember, in Moscow 2018, in Russian and English. And that was my first, little book on AI aesthetics. So I chose to present a particular argument which has references to literature because we have, poets and writers presenting today. I think the argument is very simple, and I presented it already probably in half a dozen lectures in the last few months. And so far, I didn't get a single question or comment about this argument. So I'm still hoping, maybe because it does deal a bit with kind of history of art, the history of literature. So anyway, I will start with a quote, the quote from a famous Russian Jewish semiotician and culture theorist, Yuri Lotman, from his amazing online lectures, which he recorded in the late 80s, many years before YouTube. So we're lucky to have his lectures. They're available for free. They call Conversations About Culture. And this quote comes from one of his lectures called Circles and Communities. So it's my translation to English. I quote, "If everybody speaks in the same way, everybody is voiceless. This is why poetry is playing such a role in culture. The poet is the most individual of all speakers." I will repeat this again, right? The poet is the most individual of all speakers. So everybody, uses particular idioms, particular figures of speech, right? Particular rules of grammar, particular ways of saying and thinking. And Lotman reminds us that poet, or at least perhaps he doesn't specify it, but maybe it only refers to poetry in a modern kind of post-romantic era, or maybe he thinks about it in a universal way, I'm not sure, but poet is the most individual of all speakers. So here's my argument. Both human and machine cognition rely on compression. For example, we perceive and understand the world through categories and types, right? I go around the city, I see lots of instances of chair, and I immediately recognize that the instances of a general type of chair. So this kind of compression of information, the immediate identification of particular instances as belonging to general types is not a bad thing. If we didn't do it, we would kind of go crazy. Now, human art, I would like to suggest, also uses a kind of compression. But there is a fundamental difference between how compression works in art and in generative artificial intelligence. While artworks often depict characters, symbols, or scenes, that condense human experiences, for example, you may represent a narrative through a single essential moment. You may represent certain ideas or values through symbols, right? So let's say the objects in the still life may symbolize different things. And in fact, the reliance on symbols and allegory, was the basic method of all human cultures, I think, until 19th century, until the invention of realism, where people started to represent reality for its own sake. Or let's say, if you look at the drawing, just to take most, basic examples, Picasso, Matisse, George O'Keeffe, right, where the human face is represented by just a few lines, obviously there's a compression going on, right? The drawing gives us much less information than the photograph or photorealistic painting, and yet, it affects us emotionally and cognitively. So there are lots of examples of this kind of compression or summarization in art. For example, when you're watching, let's say, a film or reading a novel, which presents a story which may be taking place over multiple years, right? The novel or the film doesn't devote equal space to every moment, right? You basically just present particular, moments, meeting between the characters, and then the narration may jump years ahead. So there's this kind of selective compression going on. And I'm already hinting at what I call creative and variable compression art, which is kind of different from its mechanical compression in machine learning and AI. So anyway, let me continue. While artworks also often depict characters, symbols, and scenes that condense human experiences, they also frequently contain many concrete and distinct details. In fact, this combination of concrete and general, predictable and unique, I think is especially important for modern arts in the 19th, 20th, and 21st century. Modern artists compress human world and experience into patterns, structures, and types, but they also often add a very particular, very rare, and unexpected to these general patterns, right? So again, if you think about some kind of modernist or contemporary drawing or face, which just uses few lines, right? But this drawing doesn't give you a statistically average face. In fact, it may have some strange wiggle of a hair, right? Something in the air. So while there's a compression of information, right? So all the features of a face may be just compressed to a few lines. It's not the average face, right? Or maybe the nose is a kind of average, very average, but then there's a line of a neck, or some wiggles of a hair, which are kind of concrete. In contrast, when computer scientists train AI models, the training data is also compressed, but that happens automatically, and the particularly unique are omitted. Extracting patterns from the data in machine learning by default means eliminating outliers and many unique details, and only selecting most frequently appearing associations, characteristics, and structures. And I think, probably everybody here, right, has some experience using generative AI, maybe not Midjourney, and I kind of want to exclude Midjourney from this discussion because it's more sophisticated than other tools. I think there's a kind of special secret sauce which the company is adding. So especially if you understand all Midjourney parameters, if you know how to use style raw, if you know what you have to turn down stylized parameter sreg, you can actually get very concrete details, but it's a still struggle. But for example, let's say if I ask ChatGPT, so okay, here's my short bio of the language. Can you rewrite it? Make it more interesting. And when I get this bio, and all the information is there, but it sounds more generic, right? More stereotypical. It doesn't have the same kind of concreteness of human voice. Again, I'm not saying it's always the case. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But in general, I think there's always a danger that the AI can substitute your idea by something which is more cliche. It's, like maybe if I was thinking how I can convey, like I did this, I decided I'm not going to show images. I will still use my hands, like a writer, like invoke images. And I was thinking, like, what image I can use to communicate with, like what metaphor. And I thought, imagine you're traveling to like a new city, right? And the city has some famous landmarks. Like, okay, Moscow has a Red Square. Maybe not a good example, but everybody knows. Or, Paris has a Eiffel Tower. Well, you don't want to go and photograph Eiffel Tower. You want to go photograph some quirky thing, Maria, or something else. And now imagine your camera, you take a picture, and miraculously, what you get is not this quirky, strange, idiosyncratic corner, but somehow the Eiffel Tower appears. And in fact, that's what literally happens, right? So if I type, like make a picture of Moscow in 1980 or 1970, and I don't specify lots of detail, inevitably, the AI tools are going to represent Red Square, they're going to represent, some old churches. But this is, let's say, more obvious cases where we can catch them. We say, aha, no. But I think this problem of struggling with unique details also happens in a much more subtle way. Like, for example, let's say you want to represent a forest, and you get this forest with beautiful lighting, and when you start looking at the trees, and somehow all the branches are a bit similar, it's almost like a copy of the same tree, so it kind of struggles with variability or concreteness. Now, this kind of compression is a fundamental characteristic of generative AI. The same also holds for machine learning and statistics in general. Right? So it's a very deep problem. It's not something you can fix. I mean, bias you can fix. You can just give AI new data. But when you think about the whole idea of learning patterns, what does it mean to learn pattern? It means to extract the essential, right, from the body of information, body of data, right, to reduce it and omit some random idiosyncratic details. But maybe we need to have these details if I want to generate really great works of art. So when data is summarized, classified, or used to predict future data, the most common is preserved and the rare is abandoned. Now, as I said, when we actually use concrete, AI tools to generate images, videos, write text, sometimes the problem is more apparent, sometimes it's less apparent. I think some tools deal with better, but in general, I encountered every day when I generate text, images, and now I'll start generating animations. So given this fundamental problem, we can ask, can we expect AI to create artworks with enough concrete, unique, and subtle details? If all of the most unique information is not preserved during training, where will it appear when we generate new artifacts? Again, in practice, I think sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But especially what I noticed, like if you're asking, with AI tools to generate a picture of something, if it's something which you've seen billions of times, like human face, right? You all seen like on Instagram, people like we make this synthetic kind of photographs, right, using Midjourney or other tools, and the faces can be, very unique with beautiful blemishes, beautiful photographic dirt. Because I think we've seen billions of faces, right? So we've seen enough details, and it can actually give you something concrete. But when I'm asking Midjourney or Stable Diffusion Nano tool, make something you've never seen before, right? Inevitably, I feel that it's like kind of relying on stereotypes. It's like it does what I want, except it's almost like imagine I want to paint a landscape. Like I'm a impressionist artist. Let's say I'm Pissarro, I'm Renoir, and what I get is beautiful landscape. But when I look closely, it's made from Lego blocks. I mean, it's not exactly like this, but again, I'm trying to use metaphors to describe it. Let me just add some more. So I think this question about kind of details, I think is very interesting and very important. And maybe it's more interesting and maybe more relevant when the typical question everybody used to ask, maybe not today, but in 2022, 2023, can AI be creative, right? We all heard it billions of times. And as I discussed in chapter 4 of my book, the association of arts with creativity is the recent notion that becomes established only in the Romantic period, so just around 200 years ago. For thousands of years, humans were creating artifacts that today we admire as the very best artworks ever created by our species. I mean, you go to the Met, you go to MoMA, you go to Centre Pompidou, you see all these beautiful artworks from 18th century, or 3,000 years BC. But the people who created these artworks didn't have an idea of art, we didn't have a concept of an artist, and we didn't have a concept of creativity. We were just kind of craftspeople, right? We're basically designers in contemporary language, right? So our authors didn't have a goal of inventing anything or being creative. Why is that? Well, for example, in the Christian tradition, there can be only one creator, God. So how can you compete with God, right? You can't. I mean, this whole idea of artist as a creator was kind of impossible until let's say 18th century, and religion kind of begin to slowly kind of lose hold because of Enlightenment. Instead, art was thought to serve other goals. And again, in the kind of Western tradition, the goal of art for 2,000 years was thought to be imitation. What you're doing is you're imitating the wonderful God creation, right? So God already created this kind of perfect world, and what you're doing is imitating it. And the concept of imitation was central to understanding of art from Plato and Aristotle until the second half of the 18th century. So just, shall I wrap up, or maybe 1-2 more minutes? I don't know. I wasn't taking. Yeah. Well, maybe just a bit more. So I think so in the chapter I can go into the 19th century, right? And I talk about the emergence of realism in literature, which I think is very relevant, and people like Balzac, Flaubert, Zola, Tolstoy, and how we can combine the general and specific in their novels. And it's interesting that in a way the founder, right, of kind of modern realism, Balzac, was, he actually had things to say about it, which can fit perfectly into my story. So, for example, he wrote, the author firmly believes that details alone will determine the merit of works, right? Not the big stories, not the thousands of characters, but details. So Balzac meticulously researched the places depicted in his novels, traveling to remote locations and comparing notes from multiple visits. So sometimes intricate details about locations in his novels can take up to 20 pages. So while his characters represent a distinct set of social types, the mistress, the soldier, the rascal, we also depicted as particular individuals. And just one more thing. So, he has a great opus, right? The Human Comedy, I think it's 300 novels, right? With super meta Netflix, right? Kind of like panorama of Paris in the 19th century. In the introduction, 1842, Balzac writes, very interesting. He says, literary creation and scientific investigation are closely related activities, right? So this is this idea of realism, which is very much aligned with kind of empiricism and the growing prestige of science. But let's maybe the last thing also, let's remember that the end goals of art and science are very different. And I think that's a good thing to say since we're like under the umbrella of Leonardo, right? So we should say something about art and science. Science, at least classical science, aims to produce only generalizations in the form of models, explanations, and predictions of natural and social world, right? So classical science, like Newton, you have a formula, so you throw something, you know, the weight of this object, right? Well, you know, and you can calculate where the object is going to land. And, you know, you basically have a formula which describes, you know, endless particular cases. So when you do science, yes, you observe things, you make experiments, but then you abstract from particular observations to try to describe the world in a very general way, right? To use my language, the science kind of offers this kind of dramatical compression of reality. It's not interested in details. So I think what's interesting about human art, right? And obviously the art is much older than science. If you look at the first traces of human arm, right, on the caves maybe 130,000 years ago, it's a different kind of activity which seems to combine general and particular, right? Generalizations and details. And it appeals also to our intellect in our senses. So let me just jump to, okay, here's the last thing. Now, this doesn't mean in practice that when we use generative AI tools, we're always inferior to like top artists because we can't generate enough small or specific details, or because we often give you like very simplistic composition, right, which are too symmetrical, etc., etc. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Now, this is not a problem, right? If in fact I want to make art in this kind of generalizing, archetypical, kind of mythical tradition, right? If I aim for schematic or aggregated aesthetics, which in fact was common to many periods in human history, like Middle Ages, right? Always kind of very stereotypical figures. If I only want archetypes or stereotypes, then AI is perfect, right? That's why everybody says, oh, AI always produces kitsch. What I think people actually meant, it produces with generalizations, right? Because kitsch is a generalization. And in fact, ancient, classical, and modern art gives us plenty of examples of great artworks which only generalize things, right? Which only reduce kind of human figure, human history, the landscape, you know, and do it in a very abstract way. But if I want to have different aesthetics, we have aesthetics which I think Lotman talks about in his quote, that combine general and concrete, and has a kind of high degree of individualization, like faces in one-act paintings, feelings, thoughts, people, and other descriptions. In fact, any sentence in Proust. You know, this year, my big project, I'm reading Proust, volume 3, and a beautiful Russian translation. It's the best thing I ever read. Because, you know, he's just a most individual, unique thinker. It's not because he's a great stylist. It's just the way he thinks about things is so original. Or maybe he wants with crazy architecture details in Gaudi architecture. This can be challenging at present. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Thank you for sharing with us your ideas and vision. I hope it will change the way we communicate and use artificial intelligence, different artificial tools to investigate the world around us. So thank you for all our speakers who are here with us today. And now is personally, for me, the most interesting part. It's the question part. And the first question goes to Dr. Lefmanovich. So this question is, are you ready?
Yes.
This question is connected a bit with the ideas which Galina Bleikh shared with us. She told us that right now, artificial intelligence database is like retro-oriented. So can we say that in the future, because now we are creating new prompts, new data using artificial intelligence, but can we say that in the future, this new data is going to be not only based on what humans were creating, but on this recreation using artificial intelligence, going to be this new step for creating something new and something artificial and less human?
Okay, sure, thank you. Well, so maybe just two things I want to say. So one is, I kind of knew about the question, so I was cheating. I was totally cheating you. So in fact, I set up my presentation a bit already to answer it. Sorry for cheating, but it's anyway, it's a complex question. So first of all, I want to say, that if historically, right, the creation of a new, the creation of original was not always the goal of art. At least that was not the kind of like explicit goal of art. So, Giotto or Raphael or Caravaggio or I don't know, or Передвижники or Kandinsky, like we invented new, well, I mean, up to Kandinsky is already modern, right? But for many centuries, people would invent new things, but they never had this goal of inventing new things, right? They never had a goal of being original. And this is, I think, very interesting, right? So maybe we should focus less on having the new and the original, something I've never seen before, as the goal for AI, and think about our goals, right? For example, I'm very impressed, right, with the AI tools such as Midjourney, like a very kind of level of professional visual execution, where knowledge, so to speak, of composition, color, lighting. Nobody has done these experiments, but if we do these experiments, probably we'll see that it's in the level of like top professional artists working in places like Disney or video games, and definitely way better than 99.99% graduates of art academies, right? Who mostly are taught how to write like artist statements, right? And no technical skills. And then the second thing is, we kind of believing in this remix culture, right? Already for 20 years, maybe 40 years, right? So remix kind of first started in music in the 1980s, turntables, mixers, and then in 2000, with like new visual tools, the remix becomes also very common in visual production, right? Collage, et cetera, all these music videos, when you think about kind of postmodernism of the 80s, in a way it anticipates AI, right? Because postmodernism was, okay, now artists could go to art schools, they're shown slides, they learn about history of art, like film students go to film school, they're shown films, and now like we start referencing and quoting, right, historical art, a bit like eclecticism or historicism in the 19th century, but more intense, right? So this kind of logic of remixing, in fact, I think was operating in our culture for 20, 30, 40 years. And I think it still has lots of potential. So in a way, the fact that we have this AI, right? And AI kind of has access to this giant database of human culture, right? And can generate endless remixes. It logically fits in with what culture was already doing for a few decades. And the last thing I want to say, so, if we want AI to make something new, we don't, but we don't let it, right? We have AI, we train it on billions of images with text descriptions, right? And then they say generate new images. So of course, it will generate images which are, either emulate existing ones or remix them. How can we make something dramatically new, right? If we start using AI for interaction, maybe we combine them with some neural interfaces. In other words, we have to get it out of a box. As long as we can keep AI, right? As long as we give it this really trivial task of just making images, I mean, what do we expect, right? So here's a few answers. Like in other words, we have to let it out and can run wild, So, which I'm not sure, right? I'm not sure it's a good idea, but kind of give it legs, so to speak, right?
Okay,
so to speak.
Let it go.
So to speak. Yeah, let it go. Exactly. Yeah, get it outside the browser, and then maybe it will show us what it can do. Yeah, something like this, right?
Yeah, just a bit more fresh air. Just go with
exactly.
the flow.
Go paint outside, like impressionists.
Definitely. Thank you. And I think your answer is a great bridge to the question we have today to Galina Bleikh. And I think it's a question connected to the role of the artist. So we know that artificial intelligence is influencing the role of the artist. So please tell us, in your perspective, will there going to be new forms, or art is going to stay the same, old artist, just in your idea? Okay. Thanks.
Okay. Daria, thank you for the question. This is a significant topic for me. I strongly feel that video or print art today looks quite conservative. The new situation requires new forms. I believe these forms should be based on parameters that match to nature of AI. These include unpredictability, interactivity, high response speed, variability, and intermediarity, and so on. Let me share some news. My partner, Elena Serbekova, and I are currently working on a large-scale project of total installation incorporating these very parameters. It will be a work of art created by a new type of artist named cognitron, unified and indivisible author, representing a synergistic fusion of human artist and artificial intelligence. And at the moment, we are looking for partners to bring our bold ideas to life. Thank you. Thank you. There are some questions to other partners.
Yes, definitely. But thank you for your answer. I think it's really inspiring, and Cognitron sounds very promising and like a huge project which will burst new ideas into our minds. And now I would like to ask a question. I would like to ask Eugeny. So yes, it is about your collaboration, but you're working with the text. You use it to create some prompts to create your visions. So this very moment when you're creating prompts, are you feeling like being a poet? This moment when you're taking text and redoing it, reforming it into vision, is it an act of creation, or it's a technical part of your work, and the act of creation is later or before? Could you please share some?
You see this part where I'm writing a prompt. It's only a small part of the process, and it's a technical part on itself. It's a tempting thought to think about it as a kind of poetry, but it's merely instructions. What is interesting is not the prompt. Interesting is the process, all steps of the process. First of all, I not only give her texts, I give her images, give her contradictory images. And textual part might contradict the images. So I try to drive AI mad, basically, and to make AI create a subject from completely contradictory inputs. And this is also on the first step. This is first iteration, because after I have a first result, I use it as a draft for the next iteration. I use this picture, I write a new text to it. I might show another picture with the first one, and this is a second iteration. I get a second result. So it's every iteration gives me something different. At the end of this process, when I'm at the place where I want to be, I have many results. And at this step, there is a new tool to use. It's a choice. It's not new for art, actually, to use a choice as a tool, because it's the same what a photographer does and he makes many shots. And what you see in the exhibition of photography, it's one shot of many. But it's also shots of the same scene, for example. What I have, 500 shots of completely different subjects or without subjects. The subject emerges. So the texts of Kirill, what I'm using, they are subjectless. They have actually no subject because it's speech which was transformed through this iPhone recorder. So what I make with it, I try to let a subject emerge through many transformations and iterations of my dialogue with AI, so to say.
Okay, so
it's not. I'm not answering your questions. I try to explain what it is a wrong understanding of what I'm doing. I'm not writing words and get the picture and that's it. It's only a small step of the process. And what interesting is the process itself, not these instructions which I give on the first step.
and when you're choosing the image, what is your like you feel that this is the right image, or you have some, I don't know, something in your head before? How you use this choice as a
I might have something before. And there is a situation when I don't know what to do, and I play with it. It's a play. It's a game.
It's like
I don't know what I get at the end. I know when I see it.
No, it's like a love from the very first sight. Like that's it.
Yeah, yes, but more like a Tinder maybe, because yes, you have many possibilities. You have endless possibilities. So you have to potentially, yes,
potentially endless possibilities, but there is like it's a
process. Yes,
it's a process. It's like it sounds like the process is the most interesting thing in all this art creation when you're working with artificial intelligence.
I like the results,
Okay.
At the end. When I describe the process, it sounds more creative than it is, because if you paint with a hand, with a brush, it's actually more interesting because it's physical. If I work with AI, there is a gap between my body and the result. So it's more like I'm doing many boring things to get something interesting in the end.
It's like routine.
It's a routine. It's creative routine, but it's still a routine because the creative part is to invent what to do on the next step. In which direction to direct AI next, to make her not to paint something boring and something predictable.
So you're controlling her, giving her new perspectives. Yeah.
Yes, I give her perspectives, and AI gives me perspectives also.
That's a collaboration.
Yes, collaboration. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you. Please. And I think now is the time to ask her the question.
Well, neural mediation in any arts is enormous. New media is the new media, but art is always about media, like paper or canvas or whatever it is. marble is a medium as much as the digital media would be. So the question is, what's immediacy? And this is what, to me now, is the subject matter, because I used to be more interested in inhuman before. Now I'm more interested in human, since I do realize that the inhuman is going to be okay, and the human might not be eventually okay. So I'm interested in the immediacy, what it means to persist in being human, not in a moral sense, or not only in the moral sense, but as a mammal, somebody who's in need of very basic things. So life is traceable, which means that life leaves traces. This is what is of utmost interest to me now, is of, I guess, enormous interest to me as a human being. Like, what is this life that we trace, where it kind of becomes real, becomes essential. And I see this sort of everywhere, because like, you know, a print is a print of something, and it's a slice of being. And when we are dealing with a digital print, it's a slice of being that is even more elusive and fragile as it used to be, which means that it might be a little bit closer to what we are. Because, Russian language has this saying, what is cut by the axe, what is written by a feather cannot be cut by an axe, which means that what's what? Oh yeah, sort of. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so which means that it persists. Paper is immortal in comparison to a digital print, and a digital print thus might be seen as something more human. So this is what, to me, is important now, that we are a little bit closer to our own fragility, and wanting. We are closer to understanding this than ever in arts, because art has never been so fragile. If it's not, when I'm speaking about oral speech, oral art. Oral art is something that persists in the scriptures later, otherwise it's dissolved. It's not quite a trace. Oral art is not something that leaves traces unless it is written. But if we're speaking about the traces, digital trace is probably the most fragile artistic trace we've ever had. I'm also very much immersed in the idea of interaction that kind of takes place between a user and a digital text. And what I keep saying is that reading leaves traces on a text. And this is also, I think, meaningful. I would love to see more interaction in arts, because we are kind of engagement creatures. We are not kind kind of naturally disengaged from an art piece, despite traditional aesthetics introduced probably by in our current form by Immanuel Kant, with the basic idea of galleries, museums, exhibitions, where you are disengaged automatically by your means of perception. I guess with a picture, for instance, we can mess, we can do anything. This is more natural, to mess with a piece of art rather than not to mess with it. So I am sort of for more interaction, more vital approach to artistic essences. Does this answer your question? Maybe excessively.
Yeah, no. I got the answer. I can say that what I see from my perspective, all speakers who are delivering their visions and telling us about projects, there was the idea of increasing the interaction.
Oh yeah.
So I think it's a very it's a great word, vital, to make it more vital. Yeah.
Thanks.
Okay. So it was really a pleasure to moderate our discussion today. And now I would like to thank everyone who were here today as a speaker, as a visitor, and maybe Galina, Bleikh would like to say the last word and to thank all the partners.
Bleikh wants to say something.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh, no, I just wanted to, just to be present for closing remarks. But can I say something? No, perhaps, or
Yes.
Sometimes I feel that, in a way, when just to respond a bit more to your question about, or Galina's question, right? I mean, how can AI create something really new, something radical? Well, in a way, it's being held back by artists, by us. Because, it's like, in a way, it's smarter than us. Let's say it knows, right? So much more. I mean, do we have any human being, even like a most distinguished historian, who has such encyclopedic knowledge, right? It knows, right? Maybe it doesn't know it perfectly, as I said, right? There's a tendency to compress information, to substitute rare things by stereotypes. And yet, obviously, after being exposed to billions of images or trillions of web pages, it knows, right? So much. It has this amazing kind of academic skills, right? Formal skills. And here we are calm and we're like, oh, what shall I ask for? Okay, I'm going to write some prompt. So it's almost, I kind of, maybe some of you remember, like I had this article in 1999, which was called Avant-Garde Software. I said, the greatest digital art is not about particular digital art projects, but the kind of software itself. Like, the internet is the greatest digital artwork, the virtual Earth, like a Google Earth, right? It's the most amazing 21st century sculpture, right? There is something about these tools where, where scale, where flexibility, where liquidity, where sort of, right? Which is really, beyond us. So in some ways, they're superhuman. So, again, I don't know where it's going to go, but, if we can somehow learn, right, to approach AI with a bit more humility, kind of humility, right? Let it be. And I think obviously there's a long tradition in the 20th century of different artists and different movements trying to kind of escape the human control, the human subjectivity, like Dada, right? Surrealism, right? Basically saying, okay, let's escape the consciousness. Let's try to kind of tap into that consciousness. Or in digital arts, let's say since the 50s and 60s, composers and later visual artists using randomness or using statistical distribution like Xenakis, right? So, happenings, performances, right? Where we involve audiences in the 60s. So there's a long, long tradition of like in the way artists saying, well, we kind of want to give up this conscious academic control. But when you give up this control, let's say if you're doing kind of surrealism, right? If you're kind of, doing this drawing with your eyes closed, I mean, you're still in the realm of kind of human identity, right? You basically escape consciousness, but you're still trapped by your unconsciousness. So now we have this, for the first time, we created this double, this narcissus, right? This kind of museum without wall, right? This like Rapin Institute, on steroids. So so maybe what we need is a different interface, right? Not with AI, which is just like patiently waiting for us. It always reminds me of like DOS, right? How we interact with computers in the 80s. And when you think about the tools today, music tools, visual tools, it's a kind of dialogue, right? So I think maybe, what needs to develop, and maybe this is one thing where artists, I mean, I don't think we have the skills to develop it, but maybe we can somehow push the companies or somehow create more discourse, but we need more sophisticated kind of interfaces between us and AI, which in a way will both allow for more interaction, but also in a way give AI kind of more freedom, right? Like when I think about this, endless universe in this latent space, but we don't know what's where, right? We only know when we type a prompt and the AI gives us something, but there are some other reaches where, right? There's like whole continents out there, but nobody has seen them because nobody's trying to investigate them, right? So in some ways, perhaps, so what I'm trying to say is perhaps, the limiting factor is not AI, the limiting factor is us. So how can we get AI to help us to escape ourselves, escape our limitations, escape our stereotypes, escape, our obsession with artists, we're in control, and then maybe we'll see something new. I hope it didn't sound too pessimistic. I'm actually very, very optimistic. So I do think that we're at the beginning of really amazing new era, maybe not in AI, but at least in digital media. So I do think AI is like absolutely the next big step, after computer graphics, after interactivity. And I think, I want to applaud and salute everybody who was here. And it's also great that we have both visual artists and some kind of poets and writers. And thank you very much. Sorry if I was speaking too much, but just wanted to share this, I hope provocative enough ideas. Thank you.
I want to say something.
Please, we are, okay. I can give you the floor.
What I think is new in our project, it's not the AI itself. It's the collaboration between two humans through these layers of iPhone, AI, and so on and so on.
Yeah, I mean, human interaction is always indirect, and we don't feel this normally. It's like, for instance, when I read Dostoevsky or when I watch films by Ingmar Bergman, I feel like I want to live in a world that they created, like any of them, because their worlds seem perfect. And you know why they seem perfect? Because people understand each other there so much that, nobody understands each other better than Svidrigailov and Raskolnikov in the real world. And I kind of am jealous of this kind of communication, of this clarity of communication, never achievable in real life. But we never see this. We think that we understand each other very well, because when we say that we understand somebody else believes us, trusts us, just takes our word for it. But I guess we just wanted to show how indirect this communication is and how, in a way, innatural human communication is. We just tried to show it through this hypermediation. This is something I would call hypermediation because it's a double mediation. And we still manage to speak to each other. And this is an achievement. And this is a victory of human understanding. And I wish that we all could kind of be capable of this mutual understanding through various enormous differences that we bear, that we have among people. I think this is important.
Okay, that's a point which is important for me.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, and we are close to finish our meeting. And finally, I want to be a little bit provocative, not on the left, but I want to say that, from my opinion, there will be the time when we will file ourselves in the neural network. Thank you for laser talks, and thank you for Silent to supporting of our meeting, and laser talks for giving the opportunity to our meeting and discussion. And I think that our discussion today was very interesting for me. Yes, and okay, and I hope that we see you in our next meetings. Okay, thank you. Bye bye.